So, hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss electronics and audio. Here we have Curtis Sullivan. He is an audio engineer, a musician, if you can see the instruments in the background. We are in his little studio today.
You know, Ben
Studio.
Levin has a small studio. Shout out to Ben Levin. Okay.
I wasn't saying anything bad. I was just saying this is
All
your
right.
studio,
Okay.
you know,
Just
or
making sure. Just making sure.
hey, I don't have a studio, so whatever. Um so my name is Ashley Betances and I am, let's just say that I'm a student because that is what I am. But
But
um
you're an engineer. You're kind of retired engineer.
yeah, a very early retirement, but
That is an early retirement.
um
Also, I'm part sound man. Hello. I'm part sound man as well. So
Yeah. So, every now and then he's going to be getting off the scene to be doing his audio thing,
yeah,
um,
I don't.
making sure that we're not clipping or sounding odd.
Yeah, that's why I have headphones on and Ash doesn't.
Exactly.
But yeah, we wanted to talk a little bit about engineering and how we would go about it, especially now that I was doing home studio and like trying to get a home studio up before anyone thought it was like viable around me. I think musicians have known. There's been guys and girls, actually mostly girls, who have been getting acclaim from the Academy for music that they made in their room, music that they made in their basement, music that they made in their friend's basement, and how you would go about that. The main device that takes analog signal and changes it into digital is what we call an audio interface. There are many types. There are many different
Let me just
configurations.
interrupt you here. I think you just jumped so far ahead. We didn't even talk analog, and you're starting to talk like analog to
Here's why.
digital.
If you are doing what we would call a hybrid mix, where you take something analog and then transition it into being a digital signal, get an audio engineer. Please pay someone. You will not do that good of a job. Okay? There are comedians who were the engineers on their podcasts for years, and I can pinpoint the exact time they got an audio engineer. Okay? So sure, let's just delve into it a little bit. Analog is what sound has been since we created amplification. We, as if I was the engineer who did it. Um,
Basically anything that is not on your computer, anything that you have to physically handle in order to create sound, that is what we consider to be analog. But I was specifically talking about the cables and things like that and connectors that go with the analog because without that, we would not be able to create sound. And
true.
even audio engineers still use the same cables we've used for many years, really.
Not only the same cables, the top the top three vocal microphones in the world, and the top one or two instrument microphones in the world have been the exact same microphone since about 1950, 1960. Um, Specifically the Shure SM7B, which famously is what Michael Jackson used to record Thriller, used to record so many hits, so many hits. And what people even today, as big as Sam Smith, use that. The SM57 is a microphone that has been heralded by musicians, producers, audio engineers, um, people like Pharrell, Questlove, um, anyone in the soul genre who has to mic horns. A lot of them use 57s, or an RE20, which is another old microphone. But like you said, the thing that connects all of these are XLRs.
Yes, XLRs. And um XLRs are they're tricky. They're tricky
Yes.
because there's so many different kinds of XLRs. And I'm not saying kinds as in, oh, this one's an XLR-A or blah blah blah. They're all the same type. They all do the same function. However, when you go to shop for one, there are so many different types of XLRs. And, some of them have the little clip at the end, the little pin that you can press down to
Yep.
disconnect it. Others don't even have that. Others are
Which,
plated.
if you buy those, what are you, a barbarian?
Yeah, please don't buy those.
Please don't. Your microphone's going to last a year,
Yeah,
maybe,
it's recommended to get the one with the little clasp at the top.
which we have right here,
Yes, we actually have them.
so that you can do stuff like this.
That scared me so much. Please don't do that again.
Why?
Because it's just everything's on and you're just unplugging it and
Yeah, it's fine. Well, that's the beauty of analog to digital. That's what we're doing right now. I'm doing a hybrid mix right now, because me taking this out and putting it back in doesn't change how much level I sent, how much it doesn't change anything. I made sure that we didn't talk so that I could cut the sound out. There's definitely a little like you can hear
mhm.
it. Um, but yeah, the clasp on the end is so vital to the preservation of your gear. Even if, like, these microphones collectively costed $110, which is about a little bit more than a Shure SM58, which is the other microphone, vocal microphone that is hugely popular. But these have stayed preserved because we treat them well.
So some XLRs they have extra casing to prevent them from bending a certain way. They also have like this one. They have a screw so that you have to unscrew it in order to disassemble it. Um, but overall, I would recommend that if you don't normally handle audio cables or anything like that, don't go around just taking apart your cables because you might mess them up. Um, you might make them short out, which ruins obviously your audio and everything else.
If you are going from one continent to another, you have to know your gear might not work. The power in Europe is different than America. Luckily, the power in America and Canada, they are very similar, but there is a lot of French influence there. Sometimes there will be times that you have to power convert things, and you could fry a computer if you tried to mess with the inside of this XLR cable. I mean, for reference, I have been an audio engineer working for a few years now, and at a decently high level, working with really talented people. Even I am very ginger when opening this up, even if I'm not working on it.
I would recommend that you leave the disassembly and the assembly of your cables to an expert or to an electrician, an audio electrician, who knows what they're doing, because there are some parts where you might need to put heat shrink or insulation on it, and you're not very sure about what to do. However, if you do want to start exploring the assembly of cables, YouTube, surprise, is a very good place to start. And I don't mean, you know, have one there ready to go while you watch this YouTube video. I mean, like, watch a couple YouTube videos, get used to it. I would recommend Avixa. How do you say that?
I
A
don't know.
Avixa, I believe that's how you say it.
Most
Um,
likely.
they are a company that specializes in the certification of audio, let's just say audio people, because they have a lot of different certifications. They also have YouTube videos, and I just saw one the other day where the guy was making a quarter inch, and he was soldering it, and he was making sure to put all of the heat shrink and isolation, made it proper. So if
And a
you
solder, for those who don't know, a solder is a desktop tool that we use to melt metal and manipulate it so that we can create the cables that you see here and the ones that you're talking about.
Yes, exactly. So, we have a couple of different cables. We
Mm-hmm.
have an XLR, which we already talked about. We have a quarter inch, which is called a TRS, or
Mm-hmm.
a tip ring sleeve. And if you have been on, my YouTube, not YouTube, my Instagram page, or if you have been on Aria Entertainment's YouTube page, you'll see that we've started posting videos about the TRS and other things, and more videos are to come about instructional things like that.
I think we should put this on the Aria Entertainment thing.
Okay, I mean, I don't really mind.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons that we want to do Aria and start it is because we can do things like this for people who aren't, in the same field as us and want to learn about this. I think beyond 2020, people who podcasts are very big to the general public now. Um, the idea of putting content out to the general public is more and more becoming the thing to do, especially with people in my field being musicians and comedians. Like, there are some things that I want to put on my personal channel because we can. This is a different thing. Um, I'm sure I'll tell a dick joke, but they're meant. This is why. Okay. What do you want me to say? Okay, I'm sure I'm gonna say a bunch of stuff on my YouTube channel that shouldn't be on this, but Aria is partially about, educating people and showing them what we're doing.
And it's it's not to be boring. I understand a lot of people aren't very, let's say, they're not very fancy to the idea of learning something, especially about cables and audio equipment. However, with the rise of more and more people being YouTubers and more people being um, podcasters and et cetera.
I mean, even churches,
Yeah,
like anything, schools, anything that it would benefit them to have more of an online presence. The same people who told me I was crazy a year ago for starting to do the things that I'm doing are now hitting me up and going, "Oh, how do we do that? How would we go about this?"
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is that if you are planning to start any kind of video or audio experience online, even in person, you most likely will run into XLRs and microphones and other things like that. Someone might ask you, hey, do you know how to fix this cable? Or do you know how to fix the issue with the board or any other issue? And you, as an engineer or as the person who is releasing content, should know how to manage all the things that you are using. Unless, of course, you're paying someone like Curtis, you
Well,
know.
even if they're paying someone like me, if you were to ask for a service that is expensive, like, "Hey, can you fix this cable?" And that person's fee is 45, $50 an hour, why don't you turn around and go buy some XLRs?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the other thing. A lot of these things are not worth saving unless you're someone like me who, when I'm miking a drum set, I'll use, around 3 microphones, but that's just for the drum set. Like, I'll go to gigs where I need 40 channels of straight audio. Even people who are like metal musicians, I think people think metal musicians just get around and talk about Satan and play music. Most of them are vegan, classically trained, extremely intelligent, college educated, and extremely good at their craft. Um, and they really do care. Like, I would use more mics and audio on a metal gig than almost a jazz gig, like a big band jazz gig. Like, they are neck and neck. Like, you really like so even when you think it doesn't touch you, this stuff will become more and more and more involved in everyone's everyday life.
Yeah, and with everything moving online because of COVID, uh, we feel inclined to share our experience with other people. And, excuse me, I think that people forget that when you're at a show or when you're doing something from your home, you most likely are the main person who is running that event.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of audio or whatever you decide that you want to go into, whether it's video or management, um, if you are the audio person, for example, and a cable stop or a channel, very common, a channel might not work,
Yeah.
right? You know, you have to go and know how to troubleshoot that channel. And it might be as simple as turning the board off and on.
Yeah.
You know, that is so common. You just have to turn it off and turn it back on.
How many times did I turn that board off and on?
Oh, it was like 5 times.
5 times. Did I
Yeah.
touch a single setting on that very powerful PC?
No, no.
And eventually it just
It just
worked.
worked. So you know, sometimes, and I've had this too because I used to work as a media technician, and this is why my background kind of, I'm a retired engineer because I used to work in the field and then I kind of left the field for a short amount of time. I'm still working into getting back into the field, but that's a whole different conversation. But in my experience, what I've noticed is that it can be as simple as turning the board off or on. It could be as simple as changing the XLR. It could be as simple as switching the mics. Maybe you forgot to unmute.
It happens so much more than you would ever think. To people who make thousands of dollars a day. Also.
Oh yeah, definitely. I remember when I was a newbie and I was working. I got my first ever like quote unquote solo gig, and
Ooh.
it wasn't really even a solo gig. It was like all you have to do is go to the cafeteria and turn on the what's it called, the
Auto mixer.
no uh the stuff that powers everything.
Oh, power amp.
Yeah. All I had to do was turn on the amps. And I went in there and I was like, I don't know anything about this. And all I had to do was literally press a switch, like flip a switch, and everything will be working. And my job was done and whatever. I had to call my boss and be like, where is the switch? What are you talking about? I turn everything's working. There's sound, but there's no sound, and I don't know what's going on. And then they're like, "Did you turn on the amp?" And I'm like, "Where is that?" All the way at the bottom. So
Yeah.
yeah, there. It's very simple sometimes. The problems that you can run into, and this
But
is this. Wait.
okay.
I just wanna
Sorry.
finish that sentence by
Okay.
saying that this is the purpose of this entire series. The purpose of teaching you how to draw a diagram on a diagram app, teaching you how to solder a cable, teaching you the ends and what each where each channel corresponds to on a connector. This is the goal, so that you can be more knowledgeable when you open that YouTube or when you start that Twitch account and
Even well, okay, so let's say you do those things. Let's say you do something un undescript, nondescript, and you have to pay someone. Once I get to a certain level of soldering and testing impedance and taking things out and putting them in, my fee is going to skyrocket. If you don't have the money to pay someone, like I said before, just maybe buy a new cable. Maybe it is a board. Maybe it is, your amplification box. So there are little boxes that we have that we call direct input boxes, and they are very essential to boosting signal and making things very loud. Um, and a lot of times, also, if you are a musician, if you are starting a Twitch channel, it's easy, but it also takes more work than you would think. It's why th- I can, you know, charge what I charge when I charge people. It's why I do things pro bono. It's why I get gigs, without people paying me. So eventually they will, because a lot of this job is showing up, and a lot of this job is I am hungry for information. A lot of this job is, man, how do I improve what I'm doing? I want to bring the production value up. And to be honest, that's why I haven't really like dove super deep into my own Twitch, because I know that, my standards are high. And when you do this for a living, you don't want to put something out that isn't, you know, top tier for you. Um, so anyone can really do it. Sometimes you do get into situations that are more complex. If you have someone set up for you, make sure they leave detailed, very detailed instructions. The gigs that have been the worst for me are the ones where they go, "Oh yeah, just go in, turn the switch on, it's going to be fine." We have 25 channels of audio, we have stage boxes, we have Cat 5, we have, which we'll get into a little bit later about, what that is. And I turned it on and it's not working. And the vocal is coming through only with reverb. Yeah, I hope you love reverb because that's the only thing we got for the main vocals. And it's, you know, things can get very complicated. So it's important for you to arm yourself with as much information as possible. And luckily, we have the internet.
Exactly. So I think this video is going to be more of a starter introductory video. Um, excuse me.
And we'll continue and get deeper and deeper and deeper into
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. Later on, I will be posting uh videos of XLRs and their connections. I will also be posting internet cables because guess what? They're so, I'm going to say expensive, but cheap to make.
They're so cheap to make.
You just need the right tools. You don't even need a solder iron. You just need a crimping tool. And, if you want to get fancy, if you don't want to use scissors or a knife, get clippers.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you just have to get the right cable length that you want. And that's pretty much it.
And then
And
you need strong hands.
you don't need strong hands. I've done it so many times, and my hands aren't that strong.
This is an introductory video, so I'm not gonna ask you which one is harder. But there's a few in my head because I've never made them myself.
No,
Only
what?
Ashley
No,
has
go ahead. You
experience.
you can ask me what
So is it harder to put that on or is it harder to put a coax cable?
coax cable.
Okay, that's what I thought because coax is a little thick.
It's really thick.
Three C's. Um, but coax is the cable that you get your television from.
Yes, exactly. Um, so yeah, coax cable is definitely harder to make, simply because you have to use a lot of force in order to crimp it and get it in properly.
And crimping is the process of those tools that Ashley was talking about. You put the end of the cable on, and then you, with your hands, it's kind of like pliers.
Yeah, you just press it really
Yeah,
hard, and then it seals the end of the connector onto the cable so that you can use it and it won't get destroyed.
yeah.
Um, you also, if you're doing video, you might end up having a BNC, which is similar to a coax, but it's much smaller and thinner. And it's able to run audio and video. And it's actually not used widely, for like regular audiences. Normally, it's like more,
It's more of a studio. It's more of
yeah,
you
more
would
for like
pay a company.
schools or companies,
Yeah.
things like that.
It's also for the most expensive cameras on the market. Cameras that cost anywhere from 20,000, 2,000, 100,
Yes.
250,000.
So if you're going to buy a very expensive camera because you're in love with the quality of it and you have the money to spare, just know you might need a BNC. And so I will also be posting about that later on.
One of the
Another
more
thing,
expensive cables as well.
yeah. Another thing that they're also easy to make though. They're pretty
Mm.
easy to make, and you don't need soldering or anything.
No, you don't.
Um, there you just have to be careful with how you make it because you can easily damage it. But anyway, one of the things that I did want to do, I wanted to go to B&H or another big store that sells audio, video, and uh, you know cables. and just go in and talk about the equipment, talk about how to select a good XLR, how to select a good quarter inch, um, you know, which kind of audio board should you get, or maybe you're considering getting.
We will
Um,
actually do an entire video on that. There are a couple people online who I've been reaching out to because honestly, they don't have anything to do either. But yeah, that honestly, even just the cable selection and the audio as a separate thing, because people buy some things online that are just like crazy to me that they would buy because they'll buy something like a Go XLR, which is a connector and a device that allows you to just plug an XLR in, and you get to put a single mic into USB, and it. I believe the way it works is that it just converts it from analog to digital, but that really limits you. Um, something like we're not going to get into it right now because I could legitimately spend 6 hours talking to people about how they should select their audio gear.
Yeah, so this is one of the things that I really wanted to do, to instruct people on how to do all of these things, because so many people now are just like, oh, I want to be YouTube stars, and I want to be a Twitch star.
Yeah.
But they have no idea that it comes with a heavy price of equipment, purchasing and understanding. It comes with the burden of getting a mixer and,
And good internet.
yeah, good internet, um, a good interface on the computer, a very good computer too, not just any laptop or any device that you might think
Okay.
of.
Here is the entry level thing we should talk about.
Okay.
Can we talk about all the people who just tell everyone to spend $2,500 on a MacBook when in reality, there's no reason for you to spend $2,000 to $6,000 on a computer that will eventually, like, it's not gonna work the way you want it to. And if you are doing like heavy, heavy stuff, like some of the greatest mixers in the world use MacBooks. Their understanding of gear is a different level than other people. And Macs do break less, and they do work with most interfaces and most mixers, and there are a lot of positives to it. But when it comes down to it, when I was like, I want to do online work, I want to have Ableton like I have right now, and be able to come in, turn it on, and create something out of basically nothing. When you open up in audio, a digital audio workstation, a DAW, if you open up Audacity, if you open up any speech program, if you open up Mixer, like Mixer, the video editing program, good luck opening that on a Mac. And good luck with file management. And good luck when things upgrade and you're like, "Oh man, I actually want to play video games and stream." Oh, you would need to talk to someone like me to say, this is the type of graphics card that you need. This is the type of, and you can curtail your setup to that. You can even get Thunderbolt cables and Thunderbolt ports on your PC so that you can, run a second desktop solely from there. And that
Not
people.
only that, but if you have one computer, such as a Mac, for example, and you need to hook it up to most of the presentation hardware that is out there, you most likely aren't going to be able to connect it without a connector. So because most hardware uses HDMI or VGA, um, DisplayPort is more for a computer thing, but they don't really use that for presentation hardware.
No.
But
And please
VGA
explain what presentation hardware. I don't think people would know.
presentation hardware, as in when you go up to a podium and you have, not a screen, but you have this rack sort of, and they have, okay, plug in your computer to the port. You're like, okay, which port? Because I have a I have an Apple computer.
And
No.
by the way, they have those up until now. I guarantee in 12 to 24 months, Apple will be reducing their ports to two USBs, maybe an SD card, but like the iPhone 12 will not have any ports. Good luck going to some, like, I hope you have AirPlay, and if there are people in there, and if there is, a lighting package that someone has a legitimate lighting board, someone like me is programming, if they have audio that's sent over internet, if their internet isn't that good, if there's so many factors that you really will be walking in blind. And at least this computer, yes, we have to convert, we have to get a converter for the power, but this computer I will take with me around the world for gigs because I'll go, this is tried and true. We have 9 USB slots in the back. We have 2 displays. We have an HDMI. We have so many things, high quality audio. Um,
I would also recommend that if you are going to go into audio, and I mean full time, seriously, or if you're going to go into the streaming full time or seriously, that you get a desktop. Um,
Yeah,
because,
even if it's Apple, by the way,
yes,
because you can get an Apple desktop. It just costs
a lot.
3 times as much as a PC.
But I recommend this because yes, there is it's hard to move it around and take it with you. However, the power that you get from it and the amount of things that you can do on it, and oh my god, like the lag is just decreased so much. Everything about it is just so much better. I have a laptop for everything that I do. I have an i7 in there and it still lags. So, it doesn't matter if your laptop is the best of the best, it's still going to lag at some point. So, get your desktop, do what you got to do, but
And just so you know, if you're walking into a studio situation and you are doing audio, they have either a $25,000 Mac to but well 25 to $60,000 Mac, and they have a PC,
yeah.
and a very powerful PC as well. Like I spent 2 grand on my PC, um, with shipping and everything. But it's, if you build a computer for $1,800, it's going to be really powerful. But I guarantee the MacBook and the laptop and the gaming laptop, they're all great. There are many of them that really, really work really well. But in a race, I would take my PC every single day of the week.
Okay. I think we've covered all of the essential like points that we wanted to get in this video. As I said, it's an introductory video, so we aren't going to give you a crazy ton of information to go home with. Um, if you're most likely already home anyway. But
Hopefully, stay home,
yeah,
wear a
exactly.
mask,
Stay home. Um,
wear a mask.
yes. But, this is just a preview of what's to come. And hopefully we can go to, a big store soon. I would really enjoy that. Um,
Hopefully, we can collaborate with some people over the internet.
yes, and that too, as well. So,
We're working into at least I am. I'm working into a lot of the circles online of content creators and different people who I look up to and could give us a lot of really pertinent information. And yeah, and talk more about that.
so is there any social media you'd like to plug or Twitch?
Um, Citrus Flow on Instagram. Um, Shout out to Titanium Jones, the guy, a wonderful producer, personality. He's at twitch.tv, titanium underscore Jones, I believe. And my Twitch is on my Instagram. That's kind of getting up and running, and by the end of the year, I should be more regular on Twitch. But for now, we're modding over on TJ's channel, and we're building.
Okay, you can follow me at Natalie B, NATALY_B, on Instagram. And you can, right there, I have my photography page linked. I'm also taking commissions for photography. So if you are on the East Coast and you want some headshots, let me know. Okay, bye.
Bye.